I'm Ann Kearse. I'm in Charleston, South Carolina with the firm of Motley Rice. I've got many of my partners here, and you just heard about Joe Rice and a little bit about our firm. And President Kelly, I want to thank you for your leadership and bringing about what we hope to help with effect change with determination on that too. In your work, you instill trust amongst your members, and I know everyone out here, as firefighters, you instill the trust of society on that too. You're our heroes. You work to save lives, and we're going to do everything we can with our litigation, our legislation, our collaboration, our education to get the word out and to seek justice. To seek justice, to seek truth, and to seek accountability. We've touched on the history of all these firms here. And President Kelly, when you were interviewing us, you probably didn't even know we've worked all together. Here we're talking and telling about what we've done before. But we've worked with Nick in 9/11. We've been to the town halls after 9/11. We worked with Sim and Hanley all through the tobacco cases, through the opioid things, and through asbestos. There's a lot of similarities in some of the litigations, and I think this is some of the things that were considered. The asbestos litigation, and we know your members have been ravished with asbestos exposure and mesothelioma. And the asbestos industry didn't want to make it public about the hazards of asbestos. The asbestos industry studied rats and found cancer. Sounds familiar now with the PFAS industry. Tobacco industry. Took a lot of work to uncover what we uncovered there. I don't know if people remember, 7 CEOs raised their right hand and said, smoking doesn't cause lung cancer. They finally came around. Sounds ridiculous now. PFAS industry is doing the same thing. Oh, it's this PFAS or that PFAS or this chemical or that chemical. But PFAS has known hazards. PFAS had hazards, as President Kelly mentioned, years and years and years ago. They had hazards in their files. They did studies, and they didn't want them to see the light of day. My firm over the last several years has been on the forefront of PFAS litigation. We have a team of lawyers, environmental lawyers, occupational lawyers, who have been working on PFAS and are working with the experts, many of the experts you've heard about today, and others that will be involved in any of the litigations that we pursue. We've been involved in understanding the science, and we know now what many of the companies knew, and it was talked about in the film. They knew and had information, and not only did they hide it, and President Kelly touched on this, they did a disinformation campaign. And what does that mean? It's not just misinformation. When you have disinformation, it's intentional. It's intentional to change the science, to try and change the science, to try and change the truth. And with our firms and our collaboration with our lawyers in the firms and with the scientists you have within your organization, President Kelly, we are going to continue to find those truths and continue to develop the science and to continue to understand what's been happening. The human, social, and economic costs of the occupational disease among the firefighters is unacceptable. Again, as our protectors, our heroes, you save the lives. We want to hear your stories. Diane and Paul, you've been thanked so much. Elijah, I haven't had the opportunity to meet you, but what we do as trial lawyers is tell a story. We tell a story of individuals and how they've been injured, and not only to themselves and the suffering that they've gone through, but to their families and to society. And bringing those stories to light in itself is an art. So I applaud you and the Cotters for telling that story. It's so important to have a voice. Each of you have a voice, and we're looking forward over the next couple days, and more importantly, the relationship that we can build with the members here, 2,100 of you as leaders, and also to your communities at home. You've heard about the hazards of PFAS. You've heard about testicular cancers and the kidney cancers and the thyroid cancers. You've heard about the reproductive and the breast milk. So many of those studies were known about years and years and years ago. The liver functions and the high cholesterol that causes so many deaths on that too. We're still uncovering things, and we're still going to expose how much of the truth has been hidden on that too. What was not shared with the scientists, what was not shared with the regulatory bodies, and what juries will now know was hidden and took a toll on what has been known about PFAS and has allowed it to be utilized in the occupational settings, in the environmental settings, and more importantly, to wear in your bunker gear every single day. The disinformation campaigns we're going to expose. David Michaels is a former head of OSHA. He writes a book he calls Triumph of Doubt, and he writes specifically about PFAS. And he wrote about the uncovering of the evidence, and again, the disinformation campaigns in published literature. It's not just the lawyers saying it, it's the truth. Again, revealing the studies. And like we've said, it's compared to some of the other industries with that too. So over the next several days, we'll see many of you. There's a PFAS section on Wednesday. We'll be there. We promised President Kelly and the executive board that we are here for you. We've brought a team of our lawyers, our partners, our staff, our paralegals to be available for the next couple days. We have a booth in room 222. And if some people may remember, there's an old TV show called 222. We've got couches, we've got things to sit there. But what's important is today and the next couple of days, we want you to get to know us so that we can have a relationship going forward. Anything that is shared with us individually is confidential. And that's, I think, important to know when as we work with President Kelly and as we advise the IAFF, the individual interests, if you're sickened or have health issues, or as we go forward on other things there too, it's confidential with us. You have a voice. Together, we're going to have a voice to affect change, as we talked about and what President Kelly has put to our mission. That's what we're getting to work for the next several years. It's not going to happen overnight. And people and members and your sisters and your brothers, we know they're going to keep developing disease. And we want to be there to help them fight, to tell their story. And as we talked about, and to uncover litigation. Sometimes people, why do you sue? I'd say, I sue for safety. And what does that mean? So much of what is uncovered would never have seen the light of day, but for the fact we took a case, an individual, one voice, we went to a courthouse, we had rulings to say, no, you need to get those documents and provide them to your counsel. And then they're made public. And that's what litigation does. And that's when I say we sue for safety. But you have a voice, and if there's corporate interests at play that want to put profits before safety, we will expose that. As part of our work that we've been doing with the IAFF, we have a website. You'll see PFASlawfirms.com, and that's going to be in some of the materials you receive. And we'll have more information on that, on how to contact us, how to provide information so that we can have follow-ups with that too. We're ready to arm you with what you need and to find the answers. And we thank you, President Kelly, and your executive board, and the leaders here for entrusting us with a very serious and important job that all our law firms, we're going to work very, very, very hard. We're going to want you to trust us as you've built the trust for us as firefighters that we treasure deeply. We look forward to the next couple days and for the many, many months to come and really getting to know more about you, your members, and your communities. Thank you.